Hi guys, welcome back. Back in the workshop with the Italjet. I'm going to be doing quite a bit to this today. Well, what happened was, if you haven't seen the previous video, go back through the channel, you'll see it. This had been sat for 16 years and we finally got it up and running. And then after that, it was sort of in limbo what we were going to do with it. We were either going to leave it as is, a running project and take it to someone else, or put the time and effort and a bit of money into it and then get up to a higher grade and then start on. I'm not doing a full resto. So it's not a nut and bolt rebuild, it's just a freshen up and a full check over and make sure everything's perfect on it, and it can be either somebody wants to go to the next level and fully restore it, or they just want to go ahead and enjoy it and use it. That's as good as it can get. So I went through it and seen everything that was possibly could need work, and then I ordered parts accordingly. So the exhaust had a crack in it, so I wanted to take it off to inspect that to see if I could weld it. So I took it off and it was totally savable, so I thought, okay, so there's, you know, something that can be just with low cost can get back up to a level where it can be usable. So when I tried to take the exhaust off, bolts broke in the barrel. I persevered. You'll see at the end of the video I was absolutely screwing. I was trying to get these like little 6mm headed bolts out with a little 10mm headed nut with like a 6mm thread, and it just broke clean off in the head. I tried to persevere back and forth, a bit of heat, everything else, welding nuts on it. In the end, I think it gave up. So well, okay, so to go to the effort to drill that out, I'm going to take the engine out. I mean, I could do it, so it's on the bench. Then I thought, if I'm taking the barrel off and going to the effort to drill it out, I might as well freshen it up. So you're talking a new piston and a new gasket set. By the time I had a new piston and a new gasket set, it was just as value to put a bigger bore in it. 50 legal, but still it's got a 70 piston. So I was like, okay, so I put a 70 piston on the list. Then the brakes. The brakes are completely stripped down. I put in the part wash and I left. Just to see if they were savable, because if they weren't, and the calipers were going to be the best part of like 50-60 quid each, that's 120 quid. And then I could get rebuild kits, but let's not get into that too much, but they were savable. They needed a lot of work, but they were savable. So then I ticked that off. One of the rear shock absorber, the bushing had gone in it, so I added that into the list, and there was a few things, and we got to a list of parts, and I was like, X versus Y, is it going to be worth it? And it is. What I have done is I've removed the decals because they were faded this orange stripe, and we ordered a new one. So they're a genuine new old stock Italjet vinyl stickers, so they're going on. We repaired the front panel. I'm waffling again, aren't I? I've got to stop waffling in these intros. I keep saying that I'm going to stop waffling, but then I waffle. So I'll talk you through what we've got and what we're doing today, and then we're going to spring some life back into the Italjet. Join me. So, all right, guys, let's talk you through what we've been doing. We ripped the engine out of the Italjet, and if you followed the last video we did where I got this thing fired up for the first time in 16 years, at the end of that video I was struggling trying to get the exhaust off. Basically what I wanted to do was I wanted to take the exhaust off to see if it was savable, whether or not it was cost effective, whether or not it needed doing or anything else, because it had a blow in it. So inspecting it, I couldn't really while it was on the bike. Plus, not only that, I wanted to get the rear brakes off it to see what they were like, and the exhaust was in the way of taking the back wheel off and vice versa. So I tried my best and persevered to try and get a broken head bolt out of the cylinder, and it just wasn't happening. It was a little 6mm threaded nut with a 10mm nut on the end of it, and it just wasn't happening. So I welded a nut on it. I tried with the heat, persevering backwards and forwards on it, and it just wasn't happening. So it broke, and then at that point I thought, do you know what, I've got to take the engine out to do my best to try and drill it out. Then I was like, well, if I've got to take the cylinder off to stick it in the bench to drill that, it probably wants new rings. Well, I might as well freshen it up. You know, it hasn't got a massive amount of mileage on this. I mean, it's only got, I think it's less than 10,000 miles. But I was thinking at the end of the day, you know, two-stroke bike, freight within an inch of his life, 16-year-old lad, yeah, might as well freshen it up. So by the time I started adding up all those bits, it was cheaper to get another cylinder and barrel. So I was like, well, there's no point in drilling that out. So I just ordered a kit, and I was like, well, if I'm having a 50, I might as well, you know, make it a bit more spicier. So I ordered a 70 kit. So the 70 kit came. So yeah, I've got a new 70 kit here with a cylinder and bore, which I'm going to fit today. These are a nice little easy job. So that's all in there with the gaskets and everything else, and that was just as cheap as buying a piston kit. So I was like, okay. Regarding the brakes, I'll show you a before and after picture of this, but once I got the exhaust off and I struggled with that, then I found the cylinder issue. I then stripped both brake cylinders and calipers and found that the pistons were seized. And they were seized solid, and these were in a right state. I'll show you. I'll post in a before picture, because I took these off and left them in the park wash and left them in there for about 3 or 4 days. Then I stripped them. The problem was these pistons were completely seized and they were almost flush. So I don't know if it's the correct way of doing it, but what I did was I welded a nut across the top of the piston. There we go. Listen, I welded a nut across the welded a bolt across the top of the piston, and that, with the heat, I twisted it, and then with that I was able to stick a little hawk in and then pull them out. I'll show you, these are an absolute thing, but these they come up fine. I mean, that's going to be absolutely no problem at all. I mean, there's a little bit of thing, that's the surface area anyway, that is the sealing edge, the side of the piston there, and they're not badly corroded, they're all usable, so that was a good thing. So we managed to get hold of a seal kit. So here's the seals. They will go back in here. If you can see there, I've completely cleaned and done those out. So, and then I used a piece of emery cloth to square them off. So they're good to go. Yeah. So I'll show you a picture of. I'll show you. We'll do a video of me building these up, so you have to see it with the do music. And yeah. So that's the new seals kit. So don't be scared if you've got a set of pistons, a set of brake calipers that have got a sticking issue, and then just think it's the best job to replace. Sometimes it's not, because you could get another second-hand set and they could be just as awful. I tell you what, these pistons haven't got going for, these calipers haven't got going for them, and the pistons is they have no dust seals. So literally there's no way of repelling dirt. So the road dirt and shit just literally goes straight into them. So that's a pretty poor design. So, but no, I've rebuilt calipers before in the past. There's these little tiny little O-rings go in between the two halves of the calipers. These are like similar to like a sort of like these AJP calipers are sort of similar to like a Brembo rip-off, but they're not a bad little caliper things. I don't know if it's the same size brakes on the 125 and the 180, but these are the 50 brakes. So that's that. And obviously we're putting fresh pads in. Not, to be honest, I am a bit of a tight ass, but at the end of the day I wanted to try and keep this as a budget as possible, because obviously it's something I'm going to try and obviously sell on. So I don't really want to be spending like £35 for a set of Brembo brake pads, but these are a good quality brake pad, and then we've got a brand new pair of pads. So that's one job that's going today. The piston and cylinders going to get in it. I've soaked the nuts down so hopefully they don't break in the head. Regarding the bike, what else did I find? I found that the bushing in the top of the shock absorber was completely spanked, and we pulled the shock absorber out, pressed in a new rubber bush, and that has been rebuilt and gone through. The similar issue with the front one, we completely stripped it down, cleaned it, and just checked it all out, checked the oil seals in it and the bushings and everything else. So that's been restored, but like, I'm not over restoring this bike, but like, at the same time I want to make sure it's bang on. So I'm going through absolutely everything. That's having new hose clips, and it's having brand new pads, brand new seals and everything else. So I'm going to ride it probably for a couple of months in the summer, and then as soon as I get bored of it, it'll probably be up for sale. Well, probably it will be up for sale. I love it, but I don't want to keep it. I want something else. So like I say, I think the motto is now at the minute is I'm just going to buy stuff I've always wanted, keep it for until I get bored of it, and then sell it. What else have we done to it? All the stickers and vinyl have been removed, so all the faded orange stickers, and there is a brand new Italjet sticker kit coming for it. The cosmetic issues, I'm just going to leave. I could go over the hog and pay like 200 quid's worth of paint, but am I going to see that money back once I use it? And to be honest, I could probably end up scuffing it up. All the plastics have been redone. Well, I say redone, we've hit them with a heat gun, so all the luster is back in all the plastics now. And they're looking really good. I've got a load of parts over here on the dyno, so I mean, look at that, and that's just hitting it with a heat gun. So all the plastic runners and everything else are all being will all go through all properly to give them a bit more luster. That's the rear cowling lot, and look at the getting a better light. The luster's just come back into all the plastic. So regarding that piece and the engine side cover, they're going to go off to the powder coater and get redone in this fake powder coated chrome. Discs were okay, surprisingly enough. I mean, they're perfectly serviceable and perfectly usable. I mean, if it was something that I was doing like a custom build on, then I would be putting new discs in at this point. But to be honest, there's no lips on them, there's no bad scores. Same with the front, a little bit of dirt on the disc, but they'll soon clean up after a couple of runs round. Master cylinders, I haven't filmed, but I did open up one and it was completely spotless in there. Not only that, when you pulled the levers on this, it had pressure and it was just seizing at the piston end. So I know it's not a master issue. Well, I hope it's not a master issue. It shouldn't be a master issue. So as soon as I rebuild these calipers today, these should bleed straight up and work. So, right, I think that's enough waffle. Let's do some more doing. So I'm going to get, first job I think I'm going to do is I'm going to rebuild these calipers and get these calipers built up and then get them on the bike and get them bled. Then once that's done, I know because I can't bleed the rear one because the rear one's on the bike. Yeah, whatever. So I'm going to rebuild these first. So I'll stick you on the little GoPro and you can follow me as I rebuild some pistons. I'll try and make that not as fucking boring as possible. And then I'm going to quickly throw a cylinder on it. Regarding putting a cylinder on, if this was a bike that I was doing something for like a performance wise, I would port match this, and I will show you and explain what port matching is, because if you want to build like a 50cc or at least a 2-stroke with, you know, more performance, you can actually port match the cylinder against the block and then open them up to get the galleyway so you can get more fuel in that. But to be honest, this is going to be running almost a standard carb and a standard intake and standard reed, so it's, to be honest, it'd be kind of pointless, to be honest. But I might tinker with it a little bit, just to freshen it up a bit. I mean, I'm already going to be in there. If I want to take the extra hour to port up the barrel that's come, I haven't looked at the porting, but what you normally find is when the cylinder bolts in, the matching where the base of the barrel bolts to the block is never perfect, and you can use the old gasket as a template. And I'm waffling, and I should be getting on a fucking doing. So right. Less waffle, more doing. We give the engine a little clean. We haven't gone OTT with it. I mean, it could be, we could have all the cases polished and, you know, as far as you want to go, but that's that. So, right, let's get on and build these calipers then. Right guys, this is one of them things again where it's fucking real life. So, ordered a steel kit and it said it was, you know, Italjet 50 AJP caliper rebuild kit, and I got 4 seals and 2 of these. So I'm thinking 4 of these. So these go obviously in there, and these little fellas go in there. And then when you build them up, push pistons in, bang bang bang, everything's all good. But I didn't notice that these seals are smaller than those seals. And I thought, okay, because I couldn't obviously have old seals out because they foul the bits. So, assuming that these were the inner seals for here and these were the seals for those. Like, meaning that, you know, they've got one side with a banjo fitting and then one side that doesn't have a banjo fitting. But, on closer inspection, both of them have exactly the same size inner ridges. So it's not like one of these is thinner and one of them's thicker, so I can't use the other one or the other one, but it's actually slightly bigger. I've tried to persevere and fit it, and it's not right. So they were like, you know, about 8 quid or 9 quid, so not a massive amount of money, but still they need to be fucking right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put this aside, I'm going to get on, fit the barrel and piston, so at least I've accomplished something today. And yeah, it's kind of a fucking bummer. It's always fucking eBay, innit? Whenever you order fucking anything, and it'll be my fault probably, but they fit there perfect. And obviously once they're in there, maybe I could persevere with it and try and get things. Most likely that one could probably fit, and that one could too. But these things are pissing in the wind. These are way too thin. You can tell how the thickness difference, look, in the difference in the 2 seals. So obviously, clearly, this one I could probably make work, but that one I got no fucking hope. So I could literally do one caliper today with maybe the front, which might be a bonus. I'm just going to have to contact the seller and see what they say. Well, let's get on and I'm going to pull the cylinder head off, because at least that way I've got something done today. Fuck you. Well, I'm going to attempt to take these 4 head bolts out, and I've gone for this, and I'm hoping that these are going to come undone and not break, but you know my life, it will. Oh, not good. Okay, that one's out. That was a bit of a pants moment there, wasn't it? Bit of a turtle head. Oh, there we go. That's Bit of an uncomfortable noise, but it has come out. Let's get this last other one here. Let it go. Oh yeah. So, you watch this video, you should learn how to fit a 70 kit to your Manelli water-cooled horizontal 2-stroke engine. Let me just fucking hell. Let me just get in a better shot. Okay, so they're all loose now. So let's go do it with the rattle gun. I went to 1/2 inch because I thought it was going to give me a fight. Looks like it's pulling the stud out, which ain't the way I'd like to do it, but it's pulled the stud out of a couple of them. Not the way I'd like to do it, but it has. Okay, this one's pulled the stud out of it. We'll leave that aside. Yeah, if it does that, it's not the biggest cry in the world, but right. Where's my mallet on it? Give it a little tap. You see there's 2 little lugs either side of the head? Can you see them? So yeah, so that's where your tapping points are. And there's water in it. Lovely. Let's go get a rag. So what you do is you drain it. I didn't think there'd be any water in there, but there clearly is. Yeah, some garbage in there. Let's see the face of this head. Okay. A little oily in there. Not massively worried, but maybe the gasket was starting to weep. Yeah, I think the head gasket was just starting to weep, so it's been a good job that we came in. You've got to remember though that these steels in this have gone absolutely so hard and brittle, so I'm going to clean it up. The head gasket was just starting to leak as well, so that's probably why that had a load of excess smoke when it fired up. It probably had a bit of water or something in the cylinder as well. So can you see the, let me get a decent screwdriver for you. You could own a toolbox for 100 years and still open the wrong drawer to get a tool out. I don't care what anyone says. So, yeah, can you see the sludge and debris in there? I think this might have to be a part wash job. It has a thermostat in there. That's cool. The thermostat built in. To change the thermostat, you've got to go in the head. So I'm going to take that thermostat out and I'm going to make sure it's perfect before I thingy, because obviously we don't want the thing overheating. I think it's going to be a part wash job for this. Let's stick this in the part wash. I'm just going to stick the cylinder in the soak. I won't put it in that. We'll just leave the cylinder in there for let it have a little soak and then we can clean it up. Right, we're going to pull the piston and barrel off now. This looks like it's going to go for the bin, so I'm not really worried about cleaning this too much. Let me just change your angle. There, that's that better. Right. Okay. So, same method. We've got a water pipe on this one, on the side, but I'm not too bothered because it's not connected to anything. I'll take it off afterwards and I'm going to put 2 new clips in then. So, same method, a little bit of a tap. You see it breaking away now from the base. Okay. Get around that. And that is your cylinder off. And then you spit all that lovely snotty water everywhere, all over your nice expensive tools. Okay. Have a quick visual. We're just going to visually look. It looked like totally usable, so I'm happy there would have been no other damage if we had around that. But again, it had that broken bolt in there. Now, can you see the difference between that port? Let me make sure it's on camera. See the difference between this port with that like half moon, so it's not actually using the full size of the cylinder. There's a broken stud there. That was a broken stud. That's the reason we're changing it.
But if you actually look in that actual bore there, can you see it's not actually using the full part of the bore? Where as the one we purchased, so here and here, can you see the size difference? That one's got like half moon in the casting made into it, and that is a full bore cylinder. So that's completely open. So that's going to make an absolute massive difference performance wise. So, but this is for the bin. I mean, we could sit and persevere and try and get this out, but you know, for the effort, it's not worth it. So, this is the piston. So, let's just give it a little flick so I can get it round. There's been a bit of scoring to the top of it. Scored on the underneath, no, but it looks okay. So let's get a pair of long nose pliers, stick them in here, and there's a little clip in the side, and you just pull out. So then you take that little retaining clip out, then this should just push all the way through that gudgeon pin. So it pokes out the other side. We've got a brand new one of these, so we're not worried. There is a small end bearing in there. We're going to change that for a new one if we have one. If not, then it's not a massive deal. Okay guys, right, so I'm just going to show you a few things. This is obviously the old piston. See the size difference, it's actually a lot more than I actually thought it would be. It didn't come with a little end bearing, but it did come with 2 sets of piston rings, so I've got extra rings. Maybe just one of those things when in manufacturing, or when they put the parcel together, they've actually added another set of rings, because this thing does not take 4 piston rings. So I was looking at it going, oh, it's got oil scrapers, and it hasn't, because it isn't a 4-stroke. They only have a compression and a scraper. So yeah, so I've got 2 sets of rings, so that's handy. So eventually I'll maybe be able to, in a, another 12 months, or whoever has this can also have another set of rings, so that if you do eventually put, have a couple of years on it, you can open it up and put another set of rings in for free. So I'm going to show you the piston differences. So that's the difference in the size of the pistons. The overall skirt is exactly the same height, but the actual size of the piston is a lot bigger. And like I said before, the arrow on a piston on 2 strokes always points towards exhaust. So when we put this on the bike, we're going to have to make sure that you fit the piston with the arrow facing down, or whichever configuration, because you could have it obviously in an upright bike, you could have the piston would be facing upwards, or blah 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 blah. I will admit to something. Once I had this idea of taking the cylinder head off and turning it 180 degrees. So you take it off, turn it round the opposite way, and you could also rotate the piston. So then if you had a bike with the cylinder head on top, you could reverse the carbon exhaust. So basically the intake would come to the exhaust, so you can literally just spin the barrel. I'm waiting to find a bike or a cylinder where it's identical either side, so that you could literally flip it. I'd do that for a video, just like, will it run bollocks, and I would be happy to take the cylinder off, flip it 180, and then have like a carb facing forward, so you can have like ram air to see if it actually made any difference performance wise. Right, let's waffle more doing. So I'm going to fit the piston. I've had a look at the gudgeon pins, and I'm not pulling them out because they decide to fuck off sometimes on you. And I'm just going to fit this piston. Best advice for fitting a piston: make sure you fucking fit it right. Put one of these clips in first, so you ain't doing it on the bike, so you ain't fitting two. Wait until they come out of the bag first to fit them. Fucking shit, everything's not going my way today. And there is a method for this, and I'll show you my method. Grab your little long nose pliers, stick it in a little flat edge there, so you get it like that, and it's going to be going in there, so we want to be coming in this side. So then you get it, put it in the top edge, so you'll see there's like little ridges in there. See the ridge where it's meant to sit? Stick in the big end first, then twist and push in, and literally then you see how you can just get it to screwdriver. Put your finger over the end so it don't fly and hitting you in the eye. Hear that nice satisfying click, and make sure that it is 100% clicked in, because I've seen these when people don't fit them right, they come out, they'll run up the side of the piston and destroy everything. So 100% make sure that you have got it in, and I'm 100% certain that is in. So right, I'm going to fit the rings now. Right guys, when fitting the rings, can you see on the rings there is a ledge? Oh, I know I'm a ledge, but this is the actual ledge of the ring. Yeah, can you see that little V? Oh good, that's coming out on camera. Okay, well that V, if you look on the piston, there's points, there's a little nipple there and another nipple there. Make sure that you put the rings facing down with the same leading edge, so that when you compress the ring it sits in. I mean, you could do it upside down. What'll happen is the high edge will lead straight into the pin. Can you see how well you can see that in the light? So yeah, so you'll see that edge, so you've got to make sure that you fit them correctly. So when you put it on, it's a good job I've got a spare set. So when it goes on, and then you go for the compression of the squish of the ring, you see that ring? So it's perfectly inside that gap. See? If you'd have done them the opposite way, what would happen is the two high ends would have just fucking mashed together, and eventually the rings would have just broke out of the piston. So make sure that when you're fitting the rings, you fit them correctly. Right, so now just making sure that you've got these retaining clips in the side of the piston in correctly, so that the gudgeon pin, like I said before, if you don't fit that correctly, what will happen is that will rise out and then it will slide up and down on the and rough up the side, run up the side of the cylinder and the bore, and completely, that's a bad time to have. So I'm just going to put some lube inside the cylinder, so it's not going up and down in the bore dry. So we've got a nice lining of oil, so for the first time when it does its first start up, it's not running dry. It may smoke a little bit, but it's not going to hurt it. So just make sure that there's a line of lube in the cylinder. Regarding base gasket, I'm just going to stick it on. I wouldn't use RTV because, for one, you've got these little galleys and holes here, and that's for your fuel supply. And I'll be honest, it hasn't got a gasket on it, sealant on it from factory. I don't like to use it. But regarding the cylinder head with the O-rings, I will be putting a thin layer of like high quality RTV around it, just for peace of mind, because there's water in there and everything else. So see which way this is going in. It looks like it's going that way. Yes, or that way. I'd say it goes that way. So then we're going to put this in. You have to obviously pick the piston up. Don't know if I'm going to edit or keep this, but pretty self-explanatory. Put the gasket in. That's it. So the base gasket. The base gasket is very crucial because you remember you've got fuel mixture and everything else coming up beside this. So if you've got any leak here, you've basically got a leak in your fuel system, well, in your air intake. So it's a lot more crucial, the crankcase on a two-stroke. Also, the two end seals that come here on here, if they've perished and sealed, that when you're putting fuel mixture into your crankcase, you can have your crank seals go. So the seals leak, it's seeping in air and everything else. That's why a lot of two-strokes are older two-strokes, and you can always tell they run rough when they're cold, and then once they warm up and everything else, that's because the seals are all building up. So, right, let's get this cylinder in. Regarding piston rings, I do them one by one. So spin that until you get to your little pin. Can you see your little pin? And what we're going to do is we're going to spin the other one until it gets to its pin. Is there. And then I'm going to squeeze both of these rings together like that. And then I'm going to pull the ball up. Hopefully I'm going to be able to get these in quite easily. Okay, I've got one in. Next one, where's the pin? There it is. Come on, baby. And we're in. Okay. So, on a car, you can use a piston ring compressor, but on most small bikes and single cylinders, you use I've used all with my finger. Worst case scenario, I've used a back of a biro pen lid, and just so that you're not damaging or anything, it's a lot softer, and you know, just in case you need that extra force. So that's going to go all the way home now. Where is it? There we go. Okay, so that's looking good. So now I'm just looking that the piston's not going to come too proud, the stroke looks like, because that piston was all the way out. So that's looking good, looking really good. Right, now I'm going to clean the gunk and get the old gaskets out of the other cylinder head, ready for the cylinder head to go in. Right, now I'm going to do is just clean this surface oil, just because I want the surfaces to be clean. We don't want drips of oil. I mean, a little bit of oil residue is something you can't out when building engines, but no, I'm just going to make sure that the surfaces aren't dripping with oil. Then this, I'm going to lay this gasket in and lay the other gasket in, but I'm going to put just a tiny film of RTV silicone just to help things along. Not because I would normally, but the quality of these gaskets I don't know. So they came with the kit. From the looks of the exhaust gasket, it's not the most amazing stuff, but you know, looks can be deceiving. I mean, I'm ugly as fuck, but I've got a good personality, so swings and roundabouts. Right, so I'm just going to lay a little bit in there. Just a little bit, I mean like loads. I was exaggerating. Lying, I put fucking loads in. Okay. And I would now just grab my finger and just make sure just to push it down into the gap. Not only that, it helps take off some of the extra over the top residue RTV I've got everywhere else. This is more for the case of to help it stick and adhere to it, but also at the same time to keep it in place while I'm tightening stuff down, because it only takes one of these things to pop out of its place, and it'll ruin your time, won't it? And it's easily done. These O-rings, like when you start pressing them down a little bit, they all start to squirm out of place and everything else. So let's just lay a little bit of that on there. Then I'm going to wipe the excess away with a rag. It's only just there to see what I mean about it all squirming everywhere. That's why I like to have it there. Okay, I'll get that bigger O-ring. I did a rebuild on a AR125 that I bought a 150 back in the day, and I didn't have any. One of the O-rings had split, and I was working at a car garage at the time, so I decided to just like grab a big box of seals and find something thing, and it's probably from like a water jacket or some sort of like, you know, car automotive deal, and it lasted one evening. I was going like me, and then like big clouds of white smoke coming out the back of it. What the fuck is going on here? And yeah, it just completely, the O-ring wasn't a heat resistant seal. So that's the difference between a red and a black seal, is they're actually there for a purpose like that. It's to you know, adhere to the heat. So just be aware of that when you're redoing seals and stuff, that not every seal is exactly the same as another seal. I'm going to fire this on now. In regards to the thermostat, I pulled it apart while it was in the part wash, cleaned it all up, and it works perfectly. At the worst case scenario, if it doesn't start circulating, I can pull this head off while it's on the bike, just the head, and it's easy enough to change that. I did contemplate cutting it out, but regards to two-stroke and heat and stuff, it's a bit of a science. So it says made in Italy, so you know it's reliable. It was better than the knockoff stuff. So yeah, it's been in there that long and it wasn't seized. If it was seized solid, I'd have just cut it out for now to run it up, and then I'd have ordered one. But I wouldn't know, heating up, warming up, it'd probably just be a little bit slower. So you don't want to, you know, scooters, if you're using this to commute on, you want to get it up to temp straight away, you know, because you only want to fire the thing off and ride off on it. But if it, for me, if I was using it for a race application or anything like that, I'd just pull the thermostat straight out, because the more you cool it, the better. Especially under high temperature, you know, like, you know, more power and more fuel, you're generating more heat, so it needs that extra cooling. That's what some people don't understand, is when you do one thing, another thing needs doing as well. So you can't just like stick one of the, you know, the biggest piston you want, because you ain't got the carb or the fuel in or the exhaust to match to any of that. And two-stroke is a real science. If I try and explain it to you, basically with performance two-strokes, it's like blowing down a trumpet. If you've got just a pipe, it just makes a noise. But if you've got like one that makes like a resonance, and that's when the resonance is, when it's on that perfect, is when it hits the power band. It's like, it's just a magical thing. It's like it's hitting the right notes at the right time, and that's how that works. It's just an air pump, but you know, blowing air out of a pipe is different to blowing air out of a trumpet. It gets you a different result, and that's basically where it is. There's a whole load of science to it, and a whole lot more going for it. That's why you have older two-strokes that would just sound like a strimmer, then you got ones that sound like, you know, 250 motocross bikes. So right, let's get this slammed home so I can stop waffling. Okay, well, all buttoned up. Like I say to you guys, I'm always 100% honest and genuine with you. I bolted the head on, and I went, oh fuck, I left this bracket off. So I'd pull the fucking bolts back on and then pull it back in. I did torque wrench it with my hand. When I took it off, this hand measured how tight it was, and when I put it back on, it measured how tight to do it, because I've got such an eidetic memory. I couldn't be asked to get a torque wrench. It's 4 studs at the end of the day. I normally, if it had been something like a car or anything like with a 4-cylinder head where it was a massive area, you're talking like this big, where it had to be perfectly square and down, and to be honest, the old, you know, opposite trick and then tighten them up and then you're done. It's normally good enough for any sort of like 4-cylinder, a single-cylinder, 2-stroke bike, in my eyes. If I was doing a full race build and it was something that was going off to a customer, like someone had paid me to do it, I would sit there and find the proper torque settings and do it with a torque wrench. But to be honest, guys, it's a bit, you know, OTT, you know, tight at the end of the day. I doubt that that's going to be any different to probably even, you know, any tighter than it should be factory anyway. So let's just give it a turn over. Here it's all working correctly. plenty of compression, sounds good. So next stage now is I'm going to leave it, and I'm going to get the rest of the engine cleaned up. I'm going to pull the water pump off now and check the cooling side of it. In all fairness, if it was mine, I wanted to spend any more money, and I just can't justify it. I'd have put a bigger intake and reeds in it and a carb, because that would have really helped wake up this the rest of the mods we did in the engine. So, but no, that could be someone further on, and people like to play with stuff. People like to play with stuff on their own, don't they? So that might be something for somebody to do if they ever have this bike off us. They can put a bigger intake in carbon. That would be the next thing I would do. I'll be sticking a set of carbon fibre reeds in and an 18 mil or 19 mil carb in it, and then that would really wake it up some more. Regards to the Italjet now, this is going to get the engine thrown in. I've still got the dial with the brakes. That'll probably be a totally different video now. I'm going to start building those calipers up because they were a nightmare. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but the seals were wrong, and we're trying to chase up and trying to get the correct seals for it. So, right, let's get this down off the bench, and let's finish up. Yep.
Right guys, I threw the engine in because there's no point in it sitting on the bench. It's nice to have it all freshened up and everything else, even though there wasn't anything actually wrong with it. It just needed, like expected. I suspected the head gasket was probably weeping, but you can never tell. But it's all freshened up all now with new piston, new rings, new seals. It's good to go. I checked the thermostat inside there. The next point of call is I've got to investigate this carb. I think there's something wrong inside the flow chamber. I don't think it's actually damaged in any way. I did just catch the end of the nipple with a pair of pliers, and when I was pulling the pipe off, and it cracked it, but only like the last little millimetre of it, so I think it's fine, but I need to investigate it. Next point, the next video I think we're going to do is we're going to get this thing fired up for the first time with this new fresh cylinder. I'm going to leave all the plastics off it and everything else because I'm waiting on sticker kit and everything else. Not only that, while I'm still working on it, it's easier in this form. I've got to investigate the brakes. Those calipers, as I showed you earlier, the seals are incorrect. I'm talking to the eBay seller, trying to get upset, but this ain't no high-end budget Discovery Channel, video or corporate, broadcasting. This is real life, and real life is I ain't got the parts, so I can't do it. So I'd like to have got more than today, but it's just one of those. So go through our channel, look through some of our videos. If it's something that you're interested in, you enjoyed the content, I would like it if you would consider subscribing. It costs absolutely nothing to do that, and it really helps us out. Help the channel grow, and give us a kick up the arse that think there's people watching this, so we might as well make some better content. And as always, hope you enjoyed the video, and ciao for now. What's the world doing? I fucking lost my fucking plot to live now. Like when you get to that thing, you've been like working on something so long, like your fucking brain's just fried. Oh.